Why is it so hard to spot red flags when you're in love? Well, because love makes you hope. You think that obvious deal breakers would be obvious. It usually is when we're looking at our friends' relationships, you can totally see it clearly when it's somebody else's relationship. But when your own heart is involved, it gets complicated because you are clinging to potential, right? Maybe they'll change. Maybe it's just stress. Maybe I'm too sensitive. You're weighing their positives more than their negatives. And it's not because we're clueless, but we just really, really, really want it to work, and that's the truth. You may be scared of being alone, or you just think this is the best you're going to get, or maybe you just, used to love feeling a little painful. If you grew up in a home where the dynamics were not super healthy, you may not even recognize when something is a true red flag. Because you may be trained to tolerate more than you probably should. You may even tolerate way more in your own relationships than you would ever in a friend's relationship or a family member's relationship, right? So I think it's always a good exercise to ask yourself, if my best friend was going through this, dealing with this, what would my advice be to her or to him? I think that can provide a lot of clarity when you take yourself out and imagine your friend came to you and said, oh, I'm dating this person and they did this, said this. What would you say to them? Would you be like, just ignore it? They've got this other great thing. Oh, they totally have a anger problem. But they're great with dogs. You know what I mean? Or whatever. They were nice to me yesterday. You would not say that probably to your friend. So I think that's a really good way of figuring out what you should do, because it's so easy to second guess yourself. And sometimes you end up in terrible relationships where people are guilt tripping and gaslighting and blaming, and that can make it very confusing. Your own memory can be jumbled, right? And sometimes you're just in denial completely, right? You don't want to start over from scratch or deal with a breakup, whatever it may be. You don't want to deal with their reaction, etc., etc. So, again, take yourself out of the center of it and imagine it as your friend or your sister or your brother in that same scenario that you are, and ask yourself, what would I say to them if they said to me, what should I do? And I think that can really help you see clearly, or more clearly. Let me know what you think. How do you figure out how to see clearly, to judge if you should stay or if you should go, or if something is a red flag or not? That's what I do. That is my trick. What's yours?